Everything working? Hello. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. And it's wonderful to have you along for the ride. Phillies go into the All-Star break in first place, a half game over the New York Metropolitans. Whoopity-doo. 4 other teams in the National League have a better record than them. First place is first place. Beating the Mets in the last series that you played against the Mets is nice. But the way they are going into this All-Star break does not feel great. I see things on social media, and I understand the feeling like they're lucky to have won the game yesterday. They're lucky to have won this, avoid the sweep. They're lucky to have really avoided the sweep in their last 2 series, in these series, on this 6-game road trip. But they're not lucky. They've got amazing starting pitching. That's not luck. That is a lot of skill. What sucks, and on the negative side of that, is that these Phillies bats need some luck on their side more so than just 2 runs in a ball game, especially when your starting pitcher is giving you another gem. 7 and a third innings from Christopher Sanchez yesterday, and the Phillies barely eke out the victory. Thank goodness for Bryce Harper and JT Realmuto in the 8th inning to come up with a couple of doubles, including JT's RBI double that brought Bryce Harper home in yesterday's game, ended up being the game-winning RBI double. But I don't think anybody looks at this Phillies team and feels any different about them than they did in the beginning of the season. I think if people are being real, which is what I always try to be with you, which I always am with you, this Phillies team, from the start of the season till right now, is about what I thought they'd be. They would be a team very much in the hunt for the division, very much in the hunt, obviously, for the playoffs, wild card or division. But they haven't shown me anything that says, this team, it's different than what it was last year, what it was the year before. Oh, it's different. It's not the same team that's going to get no hit in a World Series, not the same team that's going to be up 2 games in the NLCS and then blow it despite having final 2 games at home, and the bats just die. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed as far as how I see this season ending for the Phillies, including the postseason, meaning an early exit. Terrified that the bats just go silent. Terrified that in one of those games where it's a 2-1 game, you have Orion Kerkering come in, you have Matt Strahm come in, you have Jordan Romano come in. Anybody really out of the bullpen, and the game is just too close. Like Jordan Romano, for instance, I'm not even mad at him for game 2 of this series. He allowed a sac fly RBI to Manny Machado. Like that, okay, that's a tough card to pull. Okay, he allowed a sac fly RBI. I don't blame Jordan Romano. I blame the offense for not getting more runs done. I blame the offense for not capitalizing on opportunities. You can't have that in the postseason and expect to last a long time. So has your opinion of the Philadelphia Phillies changed at all since the start of the season? You can call this the all-star break reflection point on the Phillies. One of the things I actually really liked from Rob Thompson after the game yesterday, he said, he thinks everybody on this team needed a break. And I was like, is he including the fans? I think he should be including the fans because I think we need a break. Another 1-run win, another one-run game, I should say. Game 2 of the series was certainly a nail-biter. Yesterday was absolutely a nail-biter. And I said going into yesterday's game, I said on Saturday night's postcast, that I was like, I actually hope the Phillies lose. I hope the Phillies lose this game. Maybe that'll light more of a fire under Dave Dombrowski, whatever. And then Christopher Sanchez was dealing, and I'm like, okay, don't lose this for Sanchez. Lose it for me, but don't lose it for Sanchez. And they didn't. They won. But I want to know from you guys where you're at right now as far as the Philadelphia Phillies go, if your opinion on them has changed at all since the start of the season. Are they better than you thought they'd be? Do you see them doing more than what you had thought they would do throughout the entire season, including the playoffs? Because right now they're about the team that I thought they'd be. I'll put it to you like this. When the Eagles beat the Browns last year during the first win they had of the 10-game winning streak, when they came out of the bye week and they played the Browns and they beat the Browns, my feeling on that game was that my opinion hasn't changed. Now, you have to throw out the door for a second that Nick Sirianni was yelling at fans, going back and forth with them, whatever you want to call it, and all the stuff that was said after the game. Just forget it. I said after that win, I was like, my feeling about this team was going into the bye week was that they'd be a one-and-done playoff team. My feeling after the bye week, they beat the Browns, they're a one-and-done playoff team. Now, they ended up having an incredible 9-game stretch after that, 10 games in total that they rattled off, and they also gave us a parade down Broad Street. We remember that. This Phillies team, what can they do in the second half of this season? Are they going to have some kind of special run like the Eagles had in their season? Because right now, at this midway point, if you will, I look at this Phillies team and I see still a team that has a lot of the same blemishes that they have had over the last 3-4 seasons. And that ain't good. One was a World Series exit. You were 2 games away from winning the World Series. That was fun. That was a great run. And then they died. Their offense was terrible. Pitching, not clutch. Bullpen starting pitching. It was not good. We can go to the NLCS again there against the Diamondbacks. Also not great. Rob Thompson can't manage the bullpen to save his life. Absolutely terrible. And then you go into this series, or you go into this season, or go into last season, and the Mets just put you over your knee after a phenomenal 37-14 start to the year. Fizzle out. Absolutely fizzled out. Does anybody feel any different about this team now? And I don't think you're going to feel any different. You're a first-place team right now. You're a better team than the Mets, says the standings, and your last series against them, taking 2 of 3. You're a better team right now. But do you feel any different? Is your confidence really, oh, well, they're a first-place team. I feel like they're going to win the World Series now. No, I don't know anyone that thinks like that. The only thing that's really going to make people think this is going to be a different outcome, the only thing that's going to make this city feel like we could get another parade going here, oh my goodness, the only thing that could do that is Dave Dombrowski making significant changes to this team. Significant additions, obviously, to this team. We talked Friday briefly, despite my horrendous microphone incident of last week. We talked last week, obviously, about Clase. We talked about Stephen Kwan of the Cleveland Guardians. We've talked in the past about David Bednar. We've talked about Dennis Santana from the Pirates, both those guys from the Pirates. Last year, the apple of everybody's eye was Brent Rooker, who's usually a designated hitter / outfielder, mostly DH. Tyler Sanderson, a guy we haven't really mentioned a lot, another corner outfielder from the Athletics, 18 home runs, about a 250, 255 batting average. Mason Miller, closer, bring him in here. These are all the popular names that people want to talk about when you talk about the Phillies and what they could do at the deadline, what it would cost them. I'm at a point, as I said last week, I'm at a point with this Phillies team where I look at the way it's constructed. I look at the fact that they moved Kyle Schwarber back in the leadoff spot yesterday. 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts right before the All-Star break. Like, that just seemed to be like, oh, this will do it. Anyway, I look at the way this roster is constructed right now, and I see a team that very similarly to the previous years just doesn't have it. And one tweak could put everything else in the perfect position. And I look at a guy like Kwan, for instance, and I look at a guy that could come in here, be a top-of-the-order guy, possibly bat second, move Bryce Harper down to third, and then you move Kyle Schwarber to your cleanup spot. You could have Alec Boehm, then back him up. Everybody would move down. And you have another guy with a good on-base percentage, top of the order, getting on base, setting the table with Trey Turner. That's an absolutely great way to start things off, as far as I'm concerned. That's a significant change. If you're changing your starting lineup, that's a significant change. If you're changing who's going to be the guy, who's going to be the guy. If you're getting a guy that you know is going to be your last line of defense in the bullpen, and everybody else can move up, that's putting you in a really good position. That's up to Dave Dombrowski right now. So who's on the table for you? Is anybody untouchable? Is Andrew Painter untouchable? Is Justin Crawford untouchable? Is Aiden Miller untouchable? Because I think if you're the Phillies right now and you're John Middleton, you're spending this much money for the guys that are on this roster right now, there's got to be a double-edged sword here where, I'm spending this much money. I want to win now. Or I'm spending this much money and you want to give up our future? What? For me, it's if you can somehow pull off the deal suggested by Jeff Passan on ESPN last week, and you get Emmanuel Clase, and you get Stephen Kwan, and you have 2 years of control at least between the two of them. I think it's 2 of Clase, and I think it's 3 of Kwan. Maybe reverse that. Anyway, it's control. It's at a good price right now for both of them. You add them to your roster as fast as humanly possible. Do you give up all 3 your top picks? Or excuse me, top picks. Draft was last night, by the way, getting to that. Your top prospects to do that? The one for me that would sting the most, would be Justin Crawford. Because I think you're looking at an everyday outfielder that gets on base, hits for average, has all the tools. Power, obviously not there. 2 home runs so far in AAA, but he looks like he's just got it all, with the exception of some power. But maybe it'll come as man strength comes along, I guess. But that's the one that would sting the most to me. I look at Andrew Painter's ERA just south of 5. And I don't look at that as like, oh, this is indicative of what he's going to do for his MLB career. He's a bust already, too much hype. No, I recognize he's coming off Tommy John surgery. They're shutting him down over the All-Star break. See how he comes back from that. But I don't look at him as all of a sudden he's some kind of bust. That would sting a little. Aiden Miller just seems like with Trey Turner here for the foreseeable future, he's a shortstop. Maybe he would take over for Bryson Stott at second. Bryson got a hit yesterday. Great. I'm hoping he can turn things around. I want to find the perfect excuse for him, but I just don't believe in it. You could look at it. Oh, well, they brought him up and made him a leadoff hitter, and he just hasn't hit since. Yeah, what about last year? Well, he was hurt. Okay, so now we're talking about it's always something with Bryson Stott. Love his approach, but when an 8-pitch strikeout is still a strikeout, an 8-pitch hard hit line drive to left field is still a hard hit line drive to left field. I should say right field. He never really goes the opposite way. So yeah. I'm not looking at Bryson Stott like, oh, he'll really figure it out. If there's a guy that I'm looking at for after the All-Star break to turn anything around, that guy is Bryson Stott. Like, all right, who needs a reset? Who needs a reset right now? That's Bryson Stott. But it's just talking back to Aiden Miller. If that's not the guy, then maybe Aiden Miller, maybe he is up here in a couple years. Maybe he's up here next year. Maybe he's up here at the end of next season. Maybe he's taking over the second base bag while Trey Turner's still at short. Or maybe Trey Turner wants less responsibility, wants to go to second base. I don't know. I would doubt it. But my point is, it looks like Andrew Painter is going to be the person that everybody wants. Justin Crawford would be right there because he's next closest to being Major League ready, and then Aiden Miller. If they're keeping you from getting 2 guys that could plug a hole for you for the next couple of years, I think it's a no-brainer. As much as it might sting to give up 2 of those 3 prospects and maybe another, I'm sorry, you get control of these guys at a good price right now, and they're exactly what you need. A left fielder and a back end of a closer, essentially, an all-star closer. Sign me up. Sign me up. That's where you can put me when it comes to this trade deadline and Dave Dombrowski and what he needs to do to really get the attention of the city of Philadelphia. Like, oh, this is different. We're making a different move. We're doing something different. And not just different, but adding talent, like proven talent at the major league level. Both these guys, multi-time All-Stars. Quan, can he play in the outfield? 3 Gold Gloves? Yeah, I think he can play in the outfield. So that's the way I look at all that. As far as, I will get to the game yesterday, by the way, but as far as the draft, this kid, oh my goodness gracious. So Gage Wood is who the Phillies took. Right-handed pitcher, 21 years old, 26 overall pick out of Arkansas. 97, 98 mile per hour fastball. Fastball that all the scouts say, major league ready. A curveball that all the scouts say, major league ready. By now, you've probably heard of a no-hitter that he threw against Murray State with 19 strikeouts. First, by the way, since 1960 in the College World Series. After the game, I think it was Crossing Broad put out the interview. That was after he threw a no-hitter with 19 strikeouts. He said, I shouldn't have hit that guy. So I went back and I was like, well, when did he hit the guy? And I went back and I looked at the box score of that game. He hit a kid named Dom Decker, their cleanup hitter. Come on, Gage Wood. He hit Dom Decker in the 8th inning. In the 8th inning. So close. So, yeah, he's a Philly now. And, yes, he does seem like quite the competitor. Shoulder injury. That's why a lot of people think he fell. I read one report on him from CBS Sports saying that people don't trust his durability. I find that interesting considering he went from a bullpen pitcher to a starter in the course of his college career. And not the other way around. Now, there's a question right now as to whether or not he can help you out at the major league level right now. I think it was ESPN that threw it out there saying, oh, well, what if you just what if you throw him in the bullpen right now for the Phillies? I think it was Ned Colletti of MLB Network that said, well, he's a starting pitcher, so I'm going to work him to be a starting pitcher. Well, wait a minute. If you're telling me the speed and movement, the velocity and movement on his fastball is major league ready, and you're telling me that the drop in his curveball has the break that is also major league ready. And by the way, just watching some, I watched one of his greatest games, his greatest game ever, 19 strikeouts and no hitter in the College World Series. Judging from that, I was like, damn, that's got some nasty hook. Like, in all honesty, it reminded me of, people remember this, like a young guy coming up. People tend to think of Brett Myers with his fastball. Brett Myers, I thought, fell in love with his fastball as his career went on. What got him to the majors was his curveball. Like, when he came up, I remember starting against the Cubs. I'm watching that, and I'm like, this kid, this is his first start. And he was just hook after hook after hook, and then nasty break on it. I mean, I'm talking at the shoulders, boom, right down there, middle of the strike zone. Like, it was just getting guys looking left and right. It's nasty, and that's what this kid reminded me of watching him. Watching that College World Series. He has it. It's a matter of, yes, whether or not he can keep it up, and whether or not big league hitters are going to look at that and time it, whether or not they can look at his mechanics and pick up something along the lines of, okay, this is what he's doing when he's tipping his pitch and all that. Look, I'm not a pitching coach. His delivery doesn't look major league ready. There's just something a little bit off about it, and I think that's something the Phillies are probably going to work on with him. But if he's got the stuff right now, I'm not going to be ashamed. Who was it? Was it Tyler Finnegan? Was it Everyday Finnegan with the Royals back in the day? Was drafted the same year as Aaron Nola, and all of a sudden was pitching in a World Series, pitched in the College World Series and the World Series in the same year. Why not? Have at it. That's where you could put me. I'll tell you that much. I like the pick. I like the book. What can I say? For all that, I like the pick. Brian Barber, assistant general manager of the Phillies, did say that they see him as a starter. Well, you got all off season for that. I don't think anyone in Philly would be like, "Well, you just pitched in the College World Series. Now you're going to pitch him in our bullpen." I don't think anyone would say that. I think everyone would be like, "Oh, somebody else that not Jordan Romano? Okay, let's see how this other guy does." Cross your fingers for that. All right, let's get into yesterday's game. So, Phillies get the win 2-1 over the Padres yesterday. For the second consecutive series, they salvage Game 3 and avoid the brooms. Here was my first moment of rage from yesterday's baseball game. First inning, 2 outs right out of the gate, back-to-back strikeouts. Kyle Schwarber, again, leading off. Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, done. Bryce Harper works a walk. Yay! This is against Nick Pivetta. Nick Castellanos then hits a lazy ground ball to Manny Machado up the third base line. Manny Machado, lazier than the ground ball itself, fields this ball and just kind of throws over to first base. Meanders the ball over to first base, to which it bounces in front of Arise at first base. Arise can't pick it, and Nick Castellanos is safe at first. Okay, so now you got runners on first and second with 2 outs, all thanks to a walk and a lazy Manny Machado. JT Realmuto then hits a grounder to Manny Machado at third. Machado it's another lazy one. This is a swinging bunt more than anything. Manny Machado tries to barehand it, can't, Bases loaded all of a sudden with 2 outs, courtesy of the laziness, mostly, of Manny Machado. Had out number 3 right there, and he was lazy. The second time, tried a barehanded play, wasn't there. First time, lazy. Bryson Stott comes up there, hits one to first base. Arise and Pivetta are not on the same page. Pivetta drops it from Arise. Stott scores, or Stott is safe at first on the error, and a run scores. So the Phillies are gifted a run on a walk and 3 error. Did they try to? No, it was an infield single. So an error for Castellanos on the Castellanos play, an error on the Stott play, and they score a run. Break it open, right? Not so fast. Otto Kemp steps to the plate. He chases a 2-2 sweeper, and that was that. But they get a run. They're up 1-0, and Nick Pivetta throws 27 pitches in the top of the first inning. Bottom of the first inning, Christopher Sanchez, unaware that he's about to go 7 1/3 innings of 1-run baseball with 6 strikeouts, goes out there, gets a leadoff hit to Tatis. Arise lays out a sac bunt. Tatis moves to second. Machado grounds out to third. He walks Bogaerts. What? Christopher Sanchez doesn't walk people. He ended up walking 3 on the day. That's like 10 walks in the game for any other pitcher. Tatis goes to third, seals third on the Bogaerts walk. Then he walks Merrill, 3-2 pitch, can't get it in there. And then Iglesias strikes out on all 4 pitches. All 4 of them were changeups. So he got out of that jam. Now he goes on to just absolutely dominate. He did allow his only run in the 6th inning on an RBI single by Iglesias that was just under Bryson Stott's mitt. You had runners, I think the runners were at the corner, runners at second and third with 1 out. Infield's playing in. Ball goes just under Stott's mitt for the RBI single. But this was what was so interesting. He ends up pitching into the 8th inning, Christopher Sanchez. And after the game yesterday, Rob Thompson was asked about what has been the difference for Christopher Sanchez this season. Like, what has made him such a special, quite frankly, all-star caliber pitcher, all-star as far as I'm concerned, for the Phillies this year?
I'm just so proud of him from where he started and where he's at right now. Not just stuff, but command, poise, and composure. You know, he gets to the first inning there, and when we first had him, he's not getting through that first inning. It might affect the rest of his innings. Now he's learned to slow the game down, be able to handle adversity and keep grinding and keep pitching.
I'm reminded of Christopher Sanchez last year in New York against the Mets. If you remember this particular game, I think this is what changed everything for Christopher Sanchez. He had been pitching well. Inconsistent, but mostly well. Not great. Not what we've seen this year, a 2.50 ERA, but well. He loads the bases with nobody out. I want to say this was like the 3rd or 4th inning. They come out to the mound, and I'm thinking they're going to pull him or they're buying time for the bullpen, whatever. And they leave him in the game. Bases loaded, nobody out. The next 9 pitches were all strikes. And he gets out of it. Essentially an immaculate inning right after that. Retires the side. That was the moment for me that I think everything changed for Christopher Sanchez. If you remember the NLCS, not to bring this up for a 3rd time, the NLCS against the Diamondbacks, but Christopher Sanchez is the guy that got the start in Game 5. And Rob Thompson, I think it was Game 5, Rob Thompson decided to go with him and had the quickest hook imaginable. I think someone got in scoring position or on third base, can't remember. And it was like, all right, that's it. And he pulled him. And I'm thinking, great, now it's even more likely that Craig Kimbrell comes into this game. Great. And he did. And he blew it. So that wasn't great. But really, Christopher Sanchez has had these moments. That was obviously 2 years ago against Diamondbacks. This game was last year against the Mets. Ever since then, Christopher Sanchez has been a totally different pitcher. He's been one of the best pitchers in baseball. And yesterday, watching him use his curveball, his changeup, the way he uses changeup, it's like him and Ranger Suarez, how lucky this Phillies rotation is to have guys that could just keep guys off balance the way they're able to keep them off balance. It really is just unreal. So credit to him for how really amazing he's been. And yeah, for what Rob Thompson had to say about him, I would agree with everything there. It's great to see him get this opportunity. And credit to the Phillies, by the way, $50,000 for his bonus. I know people roll their eyes at that, but hey, you're an all-star to us. That's the other thing about Major League Baseball. Not to go off on this tangent, I still want to talk about this game, but if they call you and ask you if you want to be an all-star, you're an all-star. All you have to do is say yes. But if you say no, then you're not. That's not how that works. That's why you have reserve all-stars. So that doesn't make any damn sense to me. All right, back to the game. So Christopher Sanchez obviously did his job. I wasn't such a big fan of him going out, I think, at 86 pitches. But Topper took him out, brought in Orion Kerkering in the 8th inning. Machado gave the single to Machado. Then he walked Bogaerts, not great. Then he got Merrill to fly out to center field, Iglesias to fly out to center field. That was that. Matt Strahm came in the 9th inning and closed it out, which was great. After a leadoff walk by Cronenworth. But he got out of it after that. Yay! Sack bunt. Another walk, somewhat intentional. 3 balls, and then the intentional walk to Tatis. And then he got a rise to line out to left field. As far as the offense went, there wasn't much of it. I covered that first inning for you. The 8th inning was where the magic happened for the Phillies. Bryce Harper came up with a 1-out double. They brought in Morgan. Nick Castellanos, look, the whole first pitch thing with Nick Castellanos, I get it, and I know why it's frustrating. Here's why it was frustrating to me in this particular instance. Morgan just comes in out of the bullpen. You don't know what kind of day he's going to have. You don't know what he's throwing. And right away, but without seeing anything, you just swing at the first pitch. If you're like anyone that would give Nick Castellanos a first pitch fastball that's anywhere near the plate is insane. You're insane. You shouldn't be you should just not be in baseball. So Morgan throws him a first pitch sinker well in on the hands. Castellanos swings at it. Next one, sinker inside again. Castellanos swings at it. 0-2. And then everyone knows what's coming next. I was like, if he swings at this, so help me God. Slider 3 feet outside. He lays off it. Thank goodness. Ends up going a full count in the at-bat. And he ends up chasing the 3-2 slider away. I just don't understand. I don't understand in that particular instance, that approach at the plate for Nick Castellanos. Look, I understand. We always talk about he's going to swing at everything on the first pitch. That's what he does. And we talked last week about how he's like a 450 hitter and when he's swinging at the first pitch. That doesn't feel like he's doing that lately. Doesn't feel like 450 lately. Feels like 150 lately. But anyway, he strikes out. JT Realmuto then comes to the plate with runner in scoring position, 2 outs, delivers a 3-1 slider into the left center field gap for an RBI double. Bryce Harper scores 2-1 Phillies. That's the way it would end. That right there was the game-winning run for JT. JT Realmuto, I haven't looked it up lately. Maybe I could punch that up real quick. But it certainly feels like he has found his groove in the first 2 weeks of July. And JT Realmuto was definitely on my list for a guy that I needed to see turn it around. Rafael Marchand has obviously been a big disappointment. But over the last month and a half, in June, he hit 293 with a 348 on-base percentage. JT Realmuto. In the first 2 weeks of July, 432 batting average with a 432 on base percentage. How about that? And he hasn't hit a home run since May. Jeez, JT, let's get that going. On the road trip, a 476 batting average, 476 on base percentage. Ride that on in to the All-Star break and just ride it out as well. Ride out from the All-Star break with that exact same production. That'd be great. Give me a 300 hitter for the rest of the season. Why don't you there, JT Realmuto? Please and thank you. Bryson Stott. Here's the way things have broken down for Bryson Stott as of late. And this does not get you in the warm and fuzzies, unfortunately. So I mentioned earlier, great start to the season, 314 batting average in April, 86 at-bats. 388 on base percentage. So 314, 388. Go to the leadoff spot, 216 with a 262 on base percentage. 202 in June with a 287 on base percentage. 235 on base percentage in July to this point with a 167 batting average. You're talking about going from 314 to 167 in July. Goes into the All-Star break hitting 139 over the last 2 weeks. We all love an 8-pitch at bat. Would you rather have the 139, or would you rather have like Nick Castellanos swinging at the first pitch and hitting like 270? Because bottom line is what matters most is production. And if you can match the approach with production, then Bryson Stott is an all-star. But that is such a giant leap. Well, maybe he's an all-star. You don't know that nowadays, But the production is just, the approach is just so perfect. It's ideal. And it's ideal for a leadoff guy. The moving to leadoff hasn't been able to hit since. And I'm not saying that's what did it. Last year, there's a big drop-off as well. But good Lord, everything that he does looks right, except for the production part of it. And throughout this series in particular against the Padres, he has given me such Alec Bohm vibes. When we were watching Alec Bohm struggle in April, and he was really having a tough time, and every single pop-up, every strikeout, every pitch that he thought was a ball that was called a strike, everything was the eye roll, the bad body language, the defeated body language, the frustrated body language. Throughout that entire process, I'm like, okay, to a point, okay, fine. I'd rather see that than look at someone who doesn't look like he gives a damn. But Bryson Stott right now looks a lot like Alec Bohm at the beginning of the year, where he just feels like he can't do anything right. He got a base hit yesterday. What did he do? I hope that does something for his psyche. If there's one guy I can look at in this Phillies lineup and say, all right, this All-Star break, you're going to find the magic elixir, and you're going to come out in the second half of the season, and you're going to make us all forget about what happened in June and July. May, June, July. You're going to make us first half of July. You're going to make us forget. And then you're going to roll in the second half of the season. If there's one guy I could look at and say, please be that guy, it's Bryson Stott. Left field, I still feel like they're going to make a move for a left fielder. So Otto Kemp, I think, is on borrowed time. Max Kepler, I certainly think, is on borrowed time. I think they're going to make a move there. I don't think Nick Castellanos is going anywhere. I don't think Brandon Marsh is going anywhere. Bullpen is obviously the still a huge question mark. But as far as whose job are you taking, the Phillies don't have a closer. I'm just looking for another guy that you could rely on in the 8th or 9th inning. Maybe the 7th, but really I need a back end of the bullpen, 8th, 9th inning guy that I know with a 1-run lead, he is absolutely going to give you the best chance to win. Oh, and also he wants the ball. It's another All-Star break where you feel like All-Star break. Yeah, All-Star break where you feel like Dave Dombrowski needs to correct his mistakes from the offseason, especially in left field. Like, okay, that didn't work out. Whit Merrifield didn't work out. Let me get Austin Hayes. Oh, damn, that's not working out either. Cross our fingers for that. And just one more. Screw you, Jose Alvarado. What the hell, man? Labels, baby. Labels. Phillies will be back, by the way, Friday night. They start a series in South Philly against the Angels. That's the way that one works out. I did find this interesting yesterday. Rob Thompson just volunteered this. This wasn't a question. He was asked to I think it's Matt Gelb of The Athletic asked the question. He was asked to expound upon it, but just out of nowhere, he was asked about Orion Kerkering and Matt Strahm getting into some struggles and getting out of it. And this is how he responded.
I think everybody needs a break right now.
Why do you say that?
I just think we've been grinding, There haven't been many games where you felt really comfortable. Everything's been a close game, whether we're down, whether we're up. And I think I think everybody just needs a little break right now.
JT.
I agree. And I include the fans in that. I absolutely include the fans. You're spending a lot of money on this lineup, right? Phillies right now are 8th in batting average. And this is all of baseball. This is just the National League. 13th in runs scored, 8th in hits, 18th in home runs, 6th in walks. They have the 10th fewest strikeouts, believe it or not. 7th in stolen bases, 4th in on-base percentage. I was surprised on that one. 14th, though, in slugging percentage, and 12th in OPS. So there's a lot of room for improvement. I mean, a lot of these, though, you can look at, top 10 in a lot of these categories. Well, you're paying top dollar for top 10. You're paying top dollar to be top 3, top 5 at the worst. Top 4 in OBP. That's pretty good. 18th in home runs. That sucks, especially when you have guys that's got 30 of them. You know? How about that? Your Philadelphia 76ers. Not really going well in the Summer League. VJ Edgecombe's going to continue to have on-court workouts. Hopefully you see him play again. There's optimism that he'll play again. I feel like, especially in Vegas, ESPN has been like, this must really suck for Sixers fans. Let's get some on-court interviews. So I think it was Thursday night. Yeah, Thursday night, Sixers lose by 41 points to the Spurs. Now, let me just tell you, David Robinson retired a long time ago. Manu Ginobili's not playing. Tim Duncan's not playing. Tony Parker didn't play in that game. More recently, Dylan Harper did not play in that game. And the Sixers still lost by 41 points. Just for perspective, on that same day in Vegas, the next biggest point differential in a loss for a team was 9 points. And then the Sixers, 41 points. I wanted to start fire TJ DeLeo chants, but I just couldn't help it. I just didn't want to do that. He's a Temple guy. I can't do that. You know what I mean? Good God, it was terrible. So they started interviewing people. This is how bad it was in the Thursday night Vegas opener for the Sixers. The sideline reporter gets Jameer Nelson, and I want to say this is like late third quarter, early fourth quarter, who's watching his son, Jameer Nelson Jr., play for the Spurs. So you figure proud moment, despite the fact that Jameer Nelson is now an assistant general manager with the 76ers. And he's like, hey, the reporter goes, hey, how great is this to watch your son? And a father, a loving father, could not even enjoy his own son playing a game professionally because his own team, the 76ers, were stinking up the joint. Hey, how's this to watch your son play? Yeah, I'm not really focused on that right now because my team can't do anything right. Okay. It was so bad that Jameer Nelson couldn't even enjoy watching his son play basketball. Okay. So, Saturday's game, they get Tyrese Maxey there on the sideline, and Tyrese Maxey is asked about Joel Embiid. And Joel Embiid gets referred to as by Tyrese Maxey as the biggest competitor that he knows. Okay. He's saying something nice. I hope Joel Embiid gets an opportunity to prove that to be correct, because if he does, then that'll obviously work out for the Sixers and obviously Sixers fans. But I am at such a low point right now with the 76ers when it comes to overall expectations. And really, you could do it again and again and again because I think it just makes perfect sense. The Phillies and the Sixers are in such the same boat. The only difference is more Phillies are healthy. But it's like I'm tired of the talk, tired of the promises. I'm just get out there and just play your game and play as many of them as you can. Play as best as you can. And if you're done, you're done. But like Tyrese Maxey, I love Tyrese Maxey. And I hope he's here in Philly for a long time. And I just hope he continues to get better and better and better throughout his career. But he said that, and I was just like, no one's buying this right now. Nobody is buying this with Joel Embiid. And the other thing, he was sitting next to his boy Watford, who just obviously signed with the Sixers, and he said that Tyrese Maxey asked the organization when Maxey was asked during the sideline interview about getting Trendon Watford in here. He said, "Well, I had asked for a Draymond Green type, point forward, facilitator as a power forward, if you will, as a four, whatever. I'm looking at a guy. I wanted a guy like that that could play like Draymond Green. I wanted a Draymond Green type player." And I was like, damn, I know his boys with Watford and all, but that is some high praise for his boy. And other than that, Maxey just talked about himself competing, getting better, watching the rookies. Jared McCain and VJ Edgecombe already bosom buddies, hanging out in Vegas. They're on the bench together out there in the summer league, so that's great. I'm all about the youth movement on the Sixers basketball team because what I'm seeing now of the current roster that you're supposed to be relying on, whether that's Paul George or whether that's Joel Embiid, I just have such low expectations for that I've already turned the page and I'm like, okay, all right, let's see what VJ Edgecombe can do, even though I really still wish you'd drafted Ace Bailey. Let's see what you can build here with Jared McCain, Tyrese Maxey, the eventual Quentin Grimes, I guess. Even though the amount of attention Quentin Grimes has gotten this offseason, has anyone said this yet? Is anyone sick by this? Is anyone sickened by this yet? Like the amount of time we've spent talking about Gershon Yabusele and Quentin Grimes is nauseating. But that's kind of the position we're in, unfortunately, considering we have no idea the health of Joel Embiid. We don't really know what we're to expect for Paul George. And the draft is over. So what was going to be decided has been decided. VJ Edgecombe over Ace Bailey. Oh, and Trey Johnson, by the way, who also looks pretty good at basketball. Yeah, this is the state we're in right now with 76ers. So I tell you all that to tell you this. 8 days from training camp. 8 days, the Philadelphia Eagles will report to the NovaCare complex for training camp. And it really can't come soon enough. I am absolutely thrilled with the Eagles' offseason, their attitudes throughout the entire offseason conversation. By the way, tomorrow I'm going to have that package with Brandon Graham, Zach Ertz, Timoteo Sports, House of Hope, Ertz Family Foundation, Lighthouse Field. Great thing they did last week for the kids in North Philadelphia, running around playing football. They had the bounce house set up, the bounce house fun house thing, like it's an obstacle course, right? Connor Barwin was there as well. I'm going to have a full package put together with some great stuff with Brandon Graham and Zach Ertz on that. But just love what the Eagles have done this offseason. And coming off a Super Bowl year, I really feel like winning the Super Bowl last year, this Eagles team winning the Super Bowl last year, I just feel like was the beginning. It's weird. Going to a Super Bowl and losing it should have felt like the beginning. And in a lot of ways, obviously, it was for Jalen Hurts and this team. But winning it and knowing that this core is together on the offensive side of football and knowing that the guy that's running things on the defense in Vic Fangio kind of knows what he's doing. And you lost a lot. Make no mistake about it on the defensive end of things. But you still have two awesome corners, one outside, one nickel that looks like he's going to be on the outside occasionally, and Cooper DeJean, with Quenyon Mitchell. You still have Reed Blankenship, who is a game-sealing interception maker, taker, I guess. You still have Zach Bond, who's Defensive Player of the Year candidate. You still have Jalen Carter anchoring that. Those names right there, for anyone else that's going to be coming in to replace, if you will, a Brandon Graham, anyone that's going to be coming in to replace even a Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slay, your job's going to be made a little bit easier by the mega talent at those other spots. So yeah, Vic Fangio's great, but also the talent that's still here is pretty damn good as well. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward. Very much looking forward to this Philadelphia Eagles season and them reporting to training camp. in 8 days. Can't wait for that. Hey, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time. Oh, what was that, Nick Sirianni?
Well, that's pretty dope.
There you go. Let me tell you about the Game Time app. Want to go to the game, the concert, the comedy show? Game Time app has you covered. Download the app, create an account, use promo code FARZI, get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Game Time also has a Game Time Picks feature, which filters out all the fluff so you get right down to it, the best seats at the best prices on the Game Time app. So do what I do. Want to go to a game, concert, or comedy show? I download the Game Time app. I even used my own promo code the first time I used it. That saved me $20. Promo code FARZI on the Game Time app. Also, you can view your seat before you buy it, so you take the guesswork out of buying tickets on the Game Time app. So once again, download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code FARZI, get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's phlsportsnation.com. Let's get into the chat check and see how your wonderful people are doing on this fine morning. Jim Rice, what's going on? Death, taxes, Phillies checking out right before the All-Star break. Yeah, that ain't great. Sean Gillespie, good morning. This Phillies team has not changed my opinion of them. Same as last year. Cold bats. Yeah, first place team, great. Better than not being a first place team, obviously. But the way the Phillies have played in the first half of the season, has it made you go, oh, I was wrong. Like, I was wrong about this team. This team's incredible. They're going to win the World Series. I don't know anyone looks at the Phillies and be like, they're going to win the World Series. They got this. Zach Wheeler, Ranger Suarez, Christopher Sanchez, Jesus Luzardo. And I know he's been up and down recently, but he goes into the All-Star break with a phenomenal pitching performance, obviously. So for me, the pitching should be pretty damn stellar. But we just got no confidence in the bats. No situational hitting, nothing. If JT can be, look, I'm not expecting him to hit 426 for the rest of the year, but if he could be like even a 275, 300 hitter for the rest of the year, and not the automatic out 223 batting average that he was in the first half of the first 2 months of the year, 2.5 months of the year, then you'd feel pretty damn good. But it's not going to come from within. The cure for this team, the confidence in this team is not going to come from within. It's going to come from the outside. It's going to come from what Dave Dombrowski does at the trade deadline. That's what it's going to come from. The baseball purist. Painter and Crawford for Kwan and Clase is bad because the Phillies need a right-handed power bat and a closer. Well, Clase can obviously be your closer. And I don't like power. Yeah, I'd love to have it. But you haven't really gotten power from left field. Like Kepler's got 10 home runs on the season? Kemp has 1. Like that's 11 home runs by your left fielder. That's not power, and they're still a first place team. You give me a Gold Glove caliber left fielder, which Kwan is, and a guy that can get on base, which Kwan can do, and a guy that can hit for average, which Kwan can do, then you're in a much better place than what you have been in so far with left field. So power with this Phillies team is going to come from other places. I never like just automatically associating the position with power. And I know that you could paint a broad picture and say that, but with the way this Phillies team still has been a first place team, they haven't gotten much from left field. So if you just give me an on base percentage, hitting for average, and Gold Glove caliber defense, you're in a much better spot than you've been so far this year. That's still a big upgrade. Kwan is still a big upgrade over what you've had. Ken Saab, but I get what you're saying. Baseball purist. By the way, I recently identified myself over the weekend as a non-practicing baseball purist. And what I mean by that is I like the pitch clock. I like the 3-batter rule. I like the runner on second in extra innings. And hell yeah, give me the robo-umps for the All-Star game and beyond. Thank you very much. What's up, Ken? Nice to see you. God bless you as well. I'd rather have the lazy Machado as our for our first base, just saying, or than our first base guy, just saying. Man, Machado over Harper. They started in 2010. He's got better stats. He absolutely does. And Manny Machado is obviously a Hall of Fame talent at third base. Bryce Harper at first base is Gold Glove caliber. But yeah, better stats obviously go to Machado. 2,000 hits already. Wow, that's amazing. But man, Machado, I think he chose San Diego for a reason, and I know the weather's nicer, but what Machado does, that would not fly in Philadelphia. Bryce Harper gets it every once in a while when he doesn't run down the first baseline. The rare occasion that he doesn't do it. But Machado, man, not seeing him in the frame when he's being thrown out at first base, and then the first Bryce Harper breaks off the bag to run to the dugout for the final out of the inning or whatever, and then Machado's entering the frame, like that would not fly well in Philadelphia. Plus, the guy just doesn't have it at all in the postseason. That's just not a good look. I hear what you're saying. April. Good morning, April. Jerry Von Skyber. Hey, buddy. Good morning. Pin, what's going on? Good morning, Farzy. Will Andrew Makuba be Drew Makuba? Will he start for CJGJ? That's the goal right now before they get Justin Simmons. I'm still on that train. The baseball purist sounds like you want Sir Anthony Dominguez back on the Phillies. I haven't even looked at his stuff. What has he been up to? With the Orioles. He's still on the Orioles, right? He is still on the Orioles. 2.39 ERA. What's it looking like here? Wow, he's 30 already. Time flies. He had a rough June. I'm sorry, a rough May. Bounce back. Wow, an ERA of 0 in July. Or, I'm sorry, in June. Jeez. And then he's allowed 2 runs in July to this point. Only 2 saves on the season. 12 holds. Yeah. Nah. I think I'm all right. And I doubt very much the Phillies would go back that way again. Tyvita! What's up, Tyvita? Nice to see you. Sean Gillespie, what's going on? Sixers are number 1 in points allowed. Yay! Tyvita, I feel the same way. I assume that's about the Sixers. Yeah, that ain't great. Other teams are scared again. Yeah. Pan, I agree with you regarding Embiid. Paul George has been a bust. We should have kept Tobias Harris for half the money, hoping Maxey, McCain, and Edgecombe are the future. No, I would not have kept. I would not have kept Tobias. And I look. Let me say this. I don't hate the idea, but I would not have kept him. As long as Embiid's here, there's just that's not going to work out. It's not going to work out. With Tobias Harris and a Tyrese Maxey led offense, yeah, it might be different. Because, like, right now, what are the Sixers looking for? They're looking for a quote-unquote power forward. By the way, I would like to take the name, the position title, power forward, and just ball it up and throw it away. Because there's no power forwards anymore. Just solely refer to it as the 4 or stretch 4, you know? A versatile 4. And that's exactly what Tobias Harris is. Tyvita, side note, why is Kyle Lowry still here? Well, because the Sixers need a babysitter, and Kyle Lowry's their babysitter. Also, he's the only point guard on the team. Like, he's the only guy. He's the only point guard on the team. That's, by the way, another position that just kind of has gone away. You're now just a guard that if you shoot a lot, then you're sort of a shooting guard. But if you're a facilitator, then yeah, you're a point guard. But still, it seems like everyone, in the days of point forwards, yeah, it certainly feels like it's definitely different. But why is Kyle Lowry still here? Because he understands. He's fluent in Nick Nurse, and he's the only point guard that could help a room full of guards trying to be point guards. Sean Kilmer, good morning. I want to check out. That's right. I'll be with you guys today. I look forward to that, Sean. You and Fuji. Looking forward to that. Appreciate you. Thanks, everybody in the chat. You guys are great, as per usual. As for the morning rush, let's get to it. Brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Happy All-Star break. That's what you got right there. Happy All-Star break. Phillies aren't back at it till Friday, so that's where you can look at it. Sixers, by the way, after Saturday's performance where they took a 2-point loss, fought but fell, 96-94 to the Hornets. The Sixers are going to be back at it. I believe today they're back at it. Oh, no, that's right. They have the longer layoff. They're at it tomorrow. Tomorrow against the Wizards. That's an 8:30 start time tomorrow night. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is the Farzy Show presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Back with you guys tomorrow. Also coming up later today on Locked On 76ers podcast with Keith Pompey coming up later today. So keep your eyes out. Keep your eyes peeled for that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Back with you guys tomorrow. See you then.